A young Khadgar, fresh from the city of Dalaran, was dispatched on a fateful voyage from Kultiris, bound to serve as apprentice to the mysterious wizard Medivh at his home at Karazhan by the order of the Kirin Tor. Upon arriving, Khadgar was greeted by Morose, Medivh's quiet, shadowy servant whose gaze seemed perpetually distant, as if locked upon unseen specters. At first glance, Medivh appeared harmless enough, a kindly elder wizard with eyes sparkling with eccentric curiosity. Yet beneath this harmless facade lay layers of secrets that Khadgar was soon to uncover. Medivh eagerly questioned Khadgar about the Kirin Tor, their workings and secrets, absorbing every word before casually sending the young apprentice to tidy the expansive, dust-choked library. Morose mentioned offhandedly that countless apprentices had come before Khadgar, none lasting more than mere days before fleeing the tower's oppressive silence and strange mysteries. While wandering through Karazhan's labyrinth-like corridors, Khadgar stumbled upon a hidden chamber whose walls seemed alive with whispered secrets. There, vivid visions overtook him. A powerful human army clashed ferociously with terrifying green-skinned creatures armored in blackened steel. Amid the chaos stood a mage, aged and wise, whose long white hair danced wildly amidst the tempest of magic and steel. Strangely, Khadgar recognized himself in the old mage's piercing eyes, a reflection that filled him with unease. On a day that began as ordinary as any other, Khadgar was absorbed in organizing ancient tomes when Medivh abruptly returned, eyes blazing with fury, mistaking the young apprentice for a thief. The confusion cleared quickly, embarrassment softening Medivh's face as he remembered Khadgar's presence. In apology, Medivh extended a rare invitation, an adventure with Medivh, but they had to head to the top of the tower to depart immediately. There, amidst howling winds, Medivh laid a gentle hand upon Khadgar's forehead, transferring an instinctual knowledge of griffin riding as before this moment, Khadgar had never ridden a griffin or saddled one. Soon they soared southward, gliding over rolling lands until they reached the shadowy swamps known as the Black Morass. It was here in that wild and foreboding marshland that Khadgar first glimpsed the orcs. Alien beings guided by dark magic, and warlocks such as the sinister Nothgrin. In this harsh introduction, Khadgar realized that his apprenticeship was destined to be far more than mere study. It would be a crucible shaping the fate of Azeroth itself. Medivh and Khadgar soon crossed paths with the king's champion, Anduin Lothar, and his soldiers on a scouting mission within the Black Morass. Lothar, ever loyal to Stormwind and deeply troubled by the kingdom's peril, urged Medivh to rejoin their cause. He understood, though, the deep scars left upon Medivh from unleashing devastating power upon the Gyurabashi tribe years earlier. Medivh appeared hesitant, feigning reluctance and a lingering fear of his immense magical potential, although it was a facade masking his true intention, to grant the Horde sufficient time to gather strength. Recognizing the complexity of his friend's struggle, Lothar privately spoke with Khadgar, confiding the Guardian's troubled past and the heavy burdens Medivh carried. He asked the young apprentice not just to study under Medivh, but also to watch over him as a caretaker. Soon after, Medivh's behavior grew increasingly erratic, vanishing from Karazhan for days on end, only to return visibly drained and shadowed by an exhaustion that seemed to sap away at his very being. After returning to Karazhan, Medivh left Khadgar alone in the tower, granting the young apprentice ample time to study and experiment. During this solitude, Khadgar meticulously prepared a powerful spell, one that would bridge his mind to visions of the past. Upon completing the spell, he was abruptly transported in the midst of an epic confrontation, the legendary battle between Aegwynn, a guardian of unmatched power, and the monstrous Dark Titan, Sargeras. Medivh eventually returned, and together they journeyed to Stormwind to investigate the mysterious deaths of Hugarin and Huglar. During this journey, Khadgar uncovered a startling truth. Medivh was no ordinary mage, but a guardian of Tirisfal, an ancient order bestowed with immense magical power by a secretive council to combat the Burning Legion. Yet despite the revelation, Khadgar sensed a disturbing shadow behind Medivh's increasingly troubled demeanor. Though Khadgar could not yet comprehend the horrifying reality that Medivh was secretly under the control of Sargeras himself. He grew suspicious of his master's true intentions, setting the stage for a confrontation that would decide Azeroth's fate. After meeting a Horde emissary, the half-orc assassin Garona, Khadgar unraveled Medivh's sinister plot to open a portal between Azeroth and Draenor. Realizing it was already too late to prevent the dark portal from opening further, Khadgar and Garona hurriedly sought aid from King Lane Wrynn of Stormwind, but the king refused to help. He still believed that Medivh wasn't a traitor. However, Lothar trusted Khadgar and took a small contingent of warriors to help him take down Medivh. Together with Lord Anduin Lothar, they returned to Karazhan to confront Medivh. In the depths of the tower, they found Medivh engaged in a psychic communication with the powerful orc warlock Gul'dan. In a desperate battle that tested his courage and resolve, Khadgar confronted and defeated Medivh, plunging a blade through his master's heart and freeing him from Sargeras' corrupting grasp, but not before enduring a catastrophic drain of his own life force and magical energy. By the conclusion of this harrowing event, the youthful Khadgar had been transformed into an elderly man with his hair turned white. In the aftermath, Khadgar solemnly buried the remains of Medivh, Morose, and the cook behind Karazhan. Following the tragic death of Medivh and the devastating fall of Stormwind to the rampaging orc forces, Khadgar found himself fleeing northward alongside Lord Anduin Lothar and the weary survivors, seeking refuge in the safety of Lordaeron. Over time, Khadgar's formidable magical abilities gradually returned, and remarkably grew even stronger than before, but his youthful visage did not. Although he retained the vigor, stamina, and agility of his younger self, he bore the appearance of a weathered old man, his face deeply lined, crowned by stark white hair. In Lordaeron, Khadgar's presence added crucial credibility to Lothar's urgent call for unity among the northern kingdoms against the imminent threat of the Horde. As Khadgar stood alongside the stalwart commander, he was intrigued to discover that Lothar himself descended from the storied Arathi bloodline, linking their struggle to an ancient legacy. With the successful formation of the Alliance of Lordaeron, Khadgar was summoned to Dalaran, where he faced the esteemed Council of Six. There, he told the council the harrowing truths about his apprenticeship under Medivh, and declared his unwavering intention to support Lothar and the Alliance in their impending battles. Acknowledging Khadgar's determination and the gravity of his revelations, the council granted him permission to follow his chosen path, naming him their official emissary and liaison to Lothar. Rejoining Lothar, Khadgar witnessed firsthand the inspiring formation of the Knights of the Silver Hand, an order of warriors empowered by both martial prowess and holy light. Among these newly appointed paladins was Turalyon, who swiftly formed a close bond with Khadgar. Despite the stark contrast of Khadgar's aged appearance, the two quickly realized they were contemporaries in spirit and age, forging a friendship that would become pivotal in the trials yet to come. Khadgar fought valiantly beside Lothar during the initial clashes at Hillsbrad and Southshore. After repelling the Horde's beach landing, the Alliance pursued their enemies northeast, through rugged terrain towards the mountain pass near the Wildhammer Dwarves' fortress at Airy Peak. However, the Horde's true strategy soon became clear. The Dwarven stronghold was not their objective, but rather a clever ruse. The Alliance had been led into a deliberate distraction. While the Horde's main forces advanced swiftly toward the elven homeland of Quel'Thalas, positioning themselves to threaten both Silvermoon City and Stromgarde. Recognizing the peril too late, Lothar urgently dispatched Khadgar, Turalyon, and the renowned ranger Ilaria Windrunner to intercept the Horde and protect Quel'Thalas. The Alliance army quickly mobilized, ferried from below Stromgarde toward an area near Stratholme, and pressed onward toward the elven borders. Despite their rapid response, the Horde managed to reach Eversong Forest first, setting fire to the ancient lush woods of southern Quel'Thalas. The allied forces managed to halt the Horde's advance into inner Quel'Thalas, though at a tremendous cost. Numerous lives were lost, and large swaths of Eversong Forest lay scorched. Khadgar desperately summoned a powerful storm, blanketing the entire battlefront with rain, expending nearly all of his magical strength. The downpour temporarily quelled the fires, but could not extinguish the inferno permanently, as the Horde's red dragons unleashed searing fire, instantly reducing soaked trees to blackened ash. Nevertheless, the Horde's ruthless assault galvanized the elves, compelled them to commit wholeheartedly to the Alliance's cause. Khadgar ultimately departed Quel'Thalas leading a formidable elven armada, arriving just in time to lift Doomhammer's siege on Lordaeron's capital city. The reinvigorated Alliance then pursued the Horde back to the shores of Southshore. As the Alliance chased the retreating Horde further south, their two armies merged once more for a decisive confrontation. In the brutal clash that followed, aiming to crush the spirit of the Alliance, War Chief Orgrim Doomhammer succeeded in slaying the venerable Anduin Lothar. Inspired by Turalyon's resolute leadership, the Alliance rallied fiercely and decisively defeated the bulk of the Horde. The Alliance pressed onward to the Dark Portal, where Khadgar employed his exhaustive studies of Medivh's arcane knowledge to destroy the portal, severing the link to Draenor and effectively halting Horde reinforcements. Yet, the dimensional rift lingered ominously. To safeguard Azeroth from future invasions, Khadgar supervised the construction of Netherguard Keep, an imposing fortress built within the desolate expanse of the Blasted Lands. Only a year after completing Netherguard Keep, Khadgar's deepest fears were realized. The dark portal unexpectedly flared to life once again, releasing hordes of orcs who swiftly launched strategic attacks to seize powerful artifacts across Azeroth. Amidst the relentless fighting, Khadgar and Turalyon paused briefly for rest and sustenance. During this rare moment of rest, Khadgar experienced a vivid and unusual dream. Khadgar found himself as a colossal giant striding across the sprawling landscapes of Lordaeron, his youthful features restored, untouched by Sargeras' malevolent aging. Drawn instinctively towards Dalaran, his form shrank gradually until he stood once more at his true size upon the city's familiar cobblestone streets. Entering the Violet Citadel, Khadgar was greeted by a sumptuous feast, hosted by none other than Antonidas, the venerable leader of the Kirin Tor. Antonidas urgently informed Khadgar of the theft of the powerful Eye of Dalaran. Recognizing Khadgar's strength and wisdom, Antonidas elevated him to the rank of Archmage, entrusting him with the leadership of the critical mission to venture through the Dark Portal and confront the threat directly on Draenor. Realizing the magnitude of destruction that the Horde could inflict if left unchecked, the Alliance swiftly assembled an expeditionary force led by Khadgar himself. Upon arriving on Draenor, Khadgar was quickly confronted with a situation even more dire than anticipated. The Orcs, unified under the cunning shaman Ner'zhul, planned to unleash catastrophic portals to countless worlds ripe for conquest and devastation. During the decisive assault on Hellfire Citadel by the Sons of Lothar, Khadgar faced the formidable Orc mage, Dentarg, in a duel of honor. Dentarg unleashed a torrent of potent magical attacks, but Khadgar effortlessly deflected each spell with protective barriers. When Dentarg summoned his most devastating magic, Khadgar calmly absorbed the spell into his palm, turning the destructive force into renewed strength. Acknowledging Khadgar's overwhelming superiority, Dentarg lowered his head in respectful surrender, and Khadgar swiftly delivered the final blow, decapitating his opponent and symbolically sealing the fate of Draenor. With Dentarg defeated, Khadgar's expedition pressed deeper into Draenor, uncovering the extent of Ner'zhul's devastating plans. Determined to thwart the shaman's reckless ambitions, Khadgar led the Alliance forces through a series of fierce battles. Each confrontation further confirmed his fears about the Orcs' intentions, reinforcing his resolve to halt Ner'zhul's destructive vision. Guided by his unwavering sense of duty and bolstered by the trust of his companions, Khadgar stood prepared to face whatever dangers awaited them, fully aware that the fate of Azeroth and countless other worlds rested upon their shoulders. Despite their best efforts, the Alliance ultimately failed to prevent Ner'zhul from activating and escaping through his chaotic portals, unleashing devastating energies that tore Draenor apart. Amidst the chaos, Khadgar encountered the dying Orc mage Obrys, betrayed by Ner'zhul, who entrusted him with the powerful Book of Medivh. With Azeroth's safety in mind, Khadgar utilized the arcane spells contained within the tome to close the dark portal from Draenor's side, shielding Azeroth from imminent destruction. Leading the remaining survivors through one of Ner'zhul's unstable rifts, Khadgar barely returned to the remnants of the shattered world. In recognition of his heroic sacrifice and valor, Khadgar was immortalized in a towering stone statue located in the Valley of Heroes within Stormwind, forever honoring his legendary contributions alongside his fellow leaders of the Alliance expedition. At the Terrace of Light within the mystical city of Shatrath, Khadgar can be found. As a revered member of the Sons of Lothar, Khadgar played a pivotal role in bringing the Shatar, a faction of powerful Naaru led by the luminous Adal, to Outland. Believing deeply in the Naaru's profound strength, Khadgar sought their aid, convinced that only their extraordinary power could effectively challenge and ultimately banish the Burning Legion from this reality. Understanding Outland's strategic position within the Twisting Nether, Khadgar recognized the region's potential as a key battleground, either as a base for Legion invasions or as a front line for resistance efforts. With this perspective, he tirelessly worked towards uniting the often divided forces of the Alliance and Horde, urging them to set aside their differences and focus on their shared existential threat. During his time in Outland, Khadgar explored numerous significant locations such as the ancient tombs of Auchindoun and the ethereal fortress of Tempest Keep. Additionally, his wisdom and experience were sought by the mages of the Violet Eye in their efforts to unlock and re-enter Karazhan. the place of his formative apprenticeship and a site of immense arcane mysteries. 4 months prior to Illidan Stormrage's defeat, Khadgar was dispatched by the Shatar Naru to Netherstorm to investigate a series of peculiar phenomena. Consequently, he was absent from Shatroth City when Maeve's Shadowsong visited. Despite his physical absence, his reputation preceded him, and Maeve learned of Khadgar's enduring legacy through Alexius, a knowledgeable innkeeper in the city. Khadgar, serving as an advisor to the Naru Adal, continued his efforts to encourage cooperation between the Alliance and Horde from the central dome of the Terrace of Light, located on the western edge of the Terracar Forest. His role was akin to that of Azeroth's Argent Dawn, promoting unity in the face of the Legion's threat. During this period, Khadgar likely encountered the Draenei Paladin Vindicator Marad. Surprised by Marad's revelation that the half-orc assassin Garona was not only half Draenei, but also Marad's niece, Khadgar gained deeper insight into Garona's tragic history. Recognizing parallels between Garona's and Medivh's troubled pasts, Khadgar's understanding of her became clearer. His shared experiences with Marad enriched the Paladin's quest to uncover his niece's fate following her departure from Draenor through the Dark Portal and throughout the tumultuous events of the Second War. The mutual respect and empathy between Khadgar and Marad grew into a meaningful friendship, solidified by their shared struggles and profound insights. Addressing the diverse peoples of Azeroth, Khadgar passionately explained that although they had bravely withstood the Burning Legion twice, the relentless force of the Legion continued their devastating march across the cosmos, determined to eradicate all life. Khadgar urged adventurers from every faction to join the ongoing battle against the existential threat, emphasizing that unity and vigilance were paramount in their enduring struggle against the Legion's destructive crusade. Marad departed for Azeroth as the Dark Portal reopened, driven by his persistent quest to find Garona. After some time, he returned to Shatroth briefly, bringing with him Garona's son, Madan. Upon meeting the young man, Khadgar instantly recognized a striking resemblance to Marad, and also discerned features reminiscent of his former mentor, Medivh. Understanding dawned upon Khadgar, and he immediately realized Madan was likely Medivh's son, a revelation the youth himself confirmed with visible shame. However, Khadgar responded with empathy and insight, sharing with Madan his belief that both Medivh and Garona had been predestined for tragedy, victims manipulated by the dark machinations of Sargeras and Gul'dan long before they were even born. Khadgar offered Madan solace, emphasizing that his parents' struggles against their imposed destinies represented acts of profound courage. He suggested that Madan's very existence might hold the key to finally defeating the lingering demonic influences that had shaped their lives. Comforted by Khadgar's wisdom and understanding, Madan found clarity and peace, appreciating that his parents had not been inherently evil, but instead trapped within circumstances far beyond their control. Despite gaining answers to long-held questions, Madan chose not to join the newly formed Council of Tirisfal directly. Instead, he appointed the capable blood elf Delinia Rathskar to serve in his stead, entrusting her with safeguarding Azeroth's future against threats both known and unknown. Khadgar was revealed as an influential member of the Council of Six, actively participating in pivotal discussions, including those involving Jaina Proudmoore. Jaina had come to the Council initially seeking their aid in defending Theramore Isle from an impending Horde assault, and later advocating for a retaliatory strike against Orgrimmar, following Theramore's devastating destruction. Although not explicitly confirmed, it is strongly implied that Khadgar himself was the one who urged Adal and the Shatar Naru to lend assistance to Theramore, demonstrating his commitment to defending innocent lives and maintaining peace. When Jaina miraculously survived Theramore's tragic fall, Khadgar expressed genuine relief and empathy. Yet when she passionately sought support from the Council for an aggressive strike against Orgrimmar, fueled by vengeance for Ronan's death, Khadgar took the difficult role of delivering the Council's unanimous decision. Dalaran would not partake in such an assault. With solemn wisdom, Khadgar reminded Jaina of the innocents within Orgrimmar, notably highlighting the orphanage as a stark symbol of potential collateral damage. Despite Jaina's vehement argument that these orphans would be raised to despise the Alliance, Khadgar stood firm in his commitment to protect innocent lives. Ultimately, it was Khadgar who wisely proposed Jaina Proudmoore as a new leader of the Kirin Tor, filling the significant void left by Ronan's death. He cited prophetic scrolls written by the revered Crassus, which explicitly foretold Jaina's destined leadership. His recommendation carried profound weight, aligning the Council of Six behind a leader capable of navigating the Kirin Tor through the uncertain times ahead. When the dark portal ominously turned crimson, a formidable new threat known as the Iron Horde surged forth into Azeroth, swiftly devastating the fortress of Netherguard Keep in the Blasted Lands. With his vast wisdom and unparalleled experience, Khadgar was urgently summoned to confront this invasion. Leading a unified coalition of Horde and Alliance forces alongside notable heroes such as Thrall, Lady Liadrin, and Maraud, Khadgar spearheaded the mission to dismantle the dark portal from Draenor's side. Upon arriving in the harsh jungles of Tanaan, Khadgar quickly coordinated adventurers to deactivate the portal, successfully neutralizing its immediate threat. With the task completed, Khadgar guided his allies toward the eastern jungle, orchestrating a strategic retreat. Their escape was briefly halted by an ominous Eye of Kilrogg, forcing Khadgar to improvise a plan. He dispatched the adventurer and Auriok to distract the enemy, allowing the main group time to escape. Tragically, Auriok sacrificed himself when Kilrogg personally intervened, compelling Khadgar to collapse a bridge to prevent pursuit. During the fierce battle at Kargathar Proving Grounds, Khadgar dramatically intervened, freezing the enemy combatants to allow his allies a chance to withdraw safely, subsequently moving to the Umbral Halls. He expertly sealed the entrance and dispatched Lady Liadrin and Olin Umberhide, alongside Exarch Maladar and Kiana Moonshadow, to scout the depths of the cave. Within its shadowy confines, the group confronted the malevolent shaman Ner'zhul, whose attempt to bury them alive was narrowly thwarted by Khadgar's swift teleportation spell. In the heart of Blackrock Quarry, Khadgar further demonstrated his strategic brilliance by assigning his trusted bodyguard, Cordana Fellsong, to aid adventurers while he manipulated magical forces to rupture a nearby dam, flooding the entrenched Blackrock orcs. Amid the chaos, Khadgar led a determined defense while allies prepared the World Breaker. With the dark portal ultimately destroyed, Khadgar and his forces commandeered Iron Horde ships to safely escape Tanaan, ensuring their survival and readiness for the battles yet to come. Upon making landfall, Khadgar promptly established portals allowing Gazlo and Barros Alexston to arrive and construct garrisons for the Horde and Alliance, respectively. In Frostfire Ridge, Khadgar expressed genuine gratitude that at least some members of the Horde were committed to cooperating with him and the Alliance to combat the Iron Horde threat. He positioned himself strategically at Starfall Outpost in Shadowmoon Valley, working diligently to thwart Gul'dan's sinister plans. Utilizing the captured All-Seeing Eye, Khadgar tracked Gul'dan to the village of Golvar and launched an attempt to apprehend the dangerous warlock. Although Gul'dan narrowly escaped capture, he retaliated by sending Garona, an alternate timeline version of Khadgar's old companion, to assassinate him, a plot narrowly foiled by the intervention of Cordana. Khadgar's tireless efforts extended into Frostfire Ridge, where he collaborated closely with the Horde commander and the Frostwolf orcs of Thramvar, continuing his pursuit of the elusive Shadow Council. Stationed in Zangara within Talador, Khadgar welcomed both Alliance and Horde forces despite challenges from aggressive arcane guardians. When Jaina Proudmoore declared that no outsiders, especially Horde members, were permitted within Dalaran, Khadgar firmly countered her order. As a respected member of the Council of Six, he asserted that all his friends, regardless of faction, were welcome. Demonstrating his commitment to unity, he introduced the commanders to trusted colleagues, Magister Krellis and Magister Serena, who aided in strengthening their arcane towers and bolstering the alliance between their factions. Khadgar played a pivotal role in the battle for Shatroth, striving to reclaim the city from the Iron Horde under Orgrim Doomhammer and Blackhand. His forces secured the harbor and neutralized Iron Horde ships. Amidst the dramatic confrontation aboard Blackhand's flagship, an explosion led Khadgar to initially fear all had perished. Yet upon witnessing a flash of light, he swiftly teleported Yrel, Duratan, the commanders, and fallen heroes back to safety and ordered the remaining enemy ships destroyed. He also directed Archmage Alondra to assist the Akanai in resisting the Legion and tasked Archmage Modera with infiltrating Sokrathar's Rise. Throughout Draenor, Khadgar was seen conversing strategically at riverside posts, and Yrel's watch with key figures like Duratan and Yrel. He later joined the others near the Stones of Prophecy following Garrosh Hellscream's demise, and continuously kept commanders informed of emerging threats through his elemental servants. Later, Khadgar joined forces with adventurers in a focused effort against Gul'dan and the insidious Shadow Council, a threat he considered far more dangerous than even the Iron Horde. At this pivotal moment, he entrusted adventurers with a crucial quest to retrieve a ring from Skyreach, progressively infusing it with immense magical power throughout their journey. Initially, Khadgar guided adventurers across Draenor to gather essential artifacts for their ongoing struggle. Responding swiftly to an urgent plea from Maladar, Khadgar dispatched commanders to infiltrate the sacred halls of Auchindoun. Within its depths, they confronted and seemingly defeated Terran Gore, procuring his blood for a ritual intended to reveal Gul'dan's location, a ritual which unfortunately proved ineffective. Undeterred, Khadgar later convened with the commanders and Chromie in Nagrand, where they sought the missing bronze dragon, Kairos Dormu. Their search led them tragically to Kairos Dormu's corpse in the eerie time-lost glade, and after a fierce confrontation with his lingering spirit, they emerged victorious. Seeking deeper knowledge of Gul'dan's intentions, Khadgar tasked adventurers with delving into Highmaul to recover ancient ogre artifacts. Upon their successful return, Khadgar performed a powerful scrying ritual, which enabled direct communication with Gul'dan himself. In a chilling exchange, Gul'dan revealed that he had extensively investigated Khadgar's history, warning him that their magical connection operated in both directions. Seizing this moment, Gul'dan dispatched Garona once more to eliminate Khadgar. This time, Garona's assassination attempt nearly succeeded, as she poisoned the Archmage. Khadgar was saved only through the timely intervention of Cordana and Jaina Proudmoore, who had recently arrived in Draenor. Jaina expressed frustration that Horde forces had been involved in the affairs of the Council of Six, but Khadgar stood firm, asserting his commitment despite disagreements with his peers. Following this close encounter, Garona was captured, prompting Khadgar to dedicate himself to breaking Gul'dan's control over her, determined to free her from the Warlock's malevolent influence. Khadgar's next strategic move involved exploring the secrets of the Blackrock Foundry, where adventurers assisted him in obtaining vital elemental knowledge and artifacts, culminating in the decisive defeat of Warlord Blackhand. Armed with these powerful artifacts, Khadgar began channeling a potent spell to liberate Garona from Gul'dan's control. However, the intensity of his spell caused Garona tremendous agony, prompting Cordana to urgently appeal for mercy, accusing Khadgar of inflicting torture. Recognizing the gravity of his actions, Khadgar ceased the spell and resolved to find a less brutal solution. Soon after, Khadgar dispatched adventurers to recover an Orb of Dominion, a notorious artifact used by the Shadow Council to enforce mind control. Successfully attaining the artifact, Khadgar used it to draw forth Garona's Demon Within, a dark manifestation of Gul'dan's influence. Once the entity was vanquished, Garona gratefully acknowledged her newfound freedom, pledging her unwavering allegiance to Khadgar and the adventurers in their ongoing battle against the forces of darkness. Later, Garona guided Khadgar and the adventurer to Black Fury's command, an Iron Horde outpost in Talador, where Gul'dan intended to meet with Grommash Hellscream. Sneaking inside, they witnessed Gul'dan once more tempting Grommash with demonic blood, mocking the warchief by mentioning the futile sacrifices of his warriors, including his son Garrosh. In furious defiance, Grommash tried to attack Gul'dan but was swiftly subdued by dark magic. Kilrog Deadeye accepted Gul'dan's offer instead, transforming him into a fearsome fell orc. Alarmed by these developments, Garona and the adventurer reported back to Khadgar, who grimly noted history's unsettling repetition. Resolute, he urged the adventurer to rally their garrison forces for a decisive assault on Tanaan Jungle, while he investigated methods to counter Gul'dan's potent sorcery, promising to remain in close contact. Sometime later, Khadgar arrived at Frostwall and Lunarfall, determined to organize the next crucial phase of their campaign. Soon after the commander had constructed a formidable shipyard, Khadgar recognized the necessity of naval expertise and tasked the commander with retrieving a map and several ancient tomes hidden deep within Hellfire Citadel. After successfully obtaining the items, the commander returned to Khadgar, who then instructed them to deliver the books to Cordana Felsong at his tower with orders to destroy them. However, upon arrival, the commander discovered Cordana had succumbed to corruption. She had secretly obtained the orb, betraying Khadgar's trust. A fierce battle ensued, ending when Cordana stunned the commander and fled through a demonic portal. Devastated by Cordana's treachery yet steadfast in his resolve, Khadgar pressed forward, guiding the commander to Karabor and the Throne of the Elements to receive the final blessings on their powerful ring. Fully prepared, Khadgar led the commander deep into Hellfire Citadel to confront Gul'dan directly. At the Citadel's gates, Khadgar quickly began channeling magic, opening portals throughout the fortress to aid the assault. He was visibly shaken when confronted by the gruesome aftermath of Gorfiend's defeat, yet swiftly teleported the adventurers further into the heart of the enemy stronghold. With Manaroth finally vanquished, Khadgar sensed the end of Gul'dan's reign was near and pursued the warlock relentlessly, intent on obtaining his skull for reasons known only to himself. At the climactic battle at the Black Gate, Khadgar joined Yrel, Grommash Hellscream, and the heroes of Azeroth as they valiantly faced the demonic might of Archmage.
You made a pact. It's done. Gul'dan failed. Draenor is free!
You don't think it's over?
Gul'dan and the devils that command him are not so easily banished. I fear this is only beginning.
If you ever need us, we will be here.
Until we meet again.
A great man once told me, in the light, we are one. The future is ours, and we will see Draenor rebuilt. Together.
During the intense confrontation with Kilrock Deadeye, the adventurer experienced a chilling vision of a grim potential future. In this harrowing vision, Khadgar and the adventurer fought desperately in a losing battle within Stormwind Keep, or the Royal Quarter depending on the adventurer's faction, against an overwhelming force of demons from the Burning Legion. The desperate struggle ended tragically as Khadgar fell, releasing a devastating surge of arcane energy upon his death, annihilating all within the throne room, and abruptly ending the nightmarish vision. Determined to uncover Gul'dan's whereabouts, Khadgar meticulously traced the warlock's powerful magical signature to the mysterious Broken Isles. Upon arrival, Khadgar encountered Maev's Shadowsong, seeking the renowned Warden's assistance in capturing Gul'dan. Blaming Khadgar directly for Cordana Felsong's betrayal and corruption. Saddened but undeterred by her rejection, Khadgar pressed onward alone, resolute in his mission. Unbeknownst to both Khadgar and Maev, their tense exchange had been secretly observed by Gul'dan, who silently departed under Kil'jaeden's strict orders. Following the guidance of his demonic master, Gul'dan journeyed to an island raised from the ocean depths long ago by his alternate self. Effortlessly breaking through the intricate arcane locks and powerful magical barriers protecting the ancient tomb of Sargeras, Gul'dan unleashed a devastating blast, shattering the tomb's formidable entrance and swiftly disappearing into its sinister depths. Responding to the explosion, Khadgar rushed into the tomb, carefully navigating the lethal magical traps set by Gul'dan. Soon, the Archmage confronted his nemesis in a towering chamber, igniting an intense duel of immense arcane and fell energies that illuminated the dark halls in flashes of destructive power. Amid the chaos, Kil'jaeden's voice echoed angrily, commanding Gul'dan to retreat, insisting neither combatant could be allowed to perish in this encounter. Recognizing the immediate danger of defying the Legion, Gul'dan enveloped himself in a shroud of fell magic, causing a blinding clash against Khadgar's powerful arcane blast. In the aftermath, Khadgar discovered himself momentarily blinded, only to regain sight and find Gul'dan had vanished. A perilous game of cat and mouse followed within the shadowy confines of the tomb. Khadgar relentlessly taunted the hidden Gul'dan, provoking him to reveal himself while unleashing volleys of searing arcane fire into the engulfing darkness, determined to end their deadly encounter. After narrowly escaping a lethal strike from Khadgar's spellcasting, Gul'dan urgently appealed to Kil'jaeden, desperate to unlock the power sealed within the tomb. Equipped with forbidden knowledge, Gul'dan systematically dismantled the 5 ancient arcane seals, crafted by the Highborn of Suramar using the Pillars of Creation during the War of the Ancients. Sensing this disruption, Khadgar dispatched arcane elementals to hunt for the warlock, simultaneously taunting him about the fate of his original counterpart. Gul'dan, ignoring Khadgar's provocations, pressed onward relentlessly. Finally, Gul'dan approached the fifth and most formidable seal, its potency magnified by a mechanism crafted centuries early by a legendary guardian of Tirisfal. Khadgar, acutely aware of the growing danger, formed a massive wedge of arcane energy, forcefully driving it into the chamber floor. Forced from concealment, Gul'dan confronted Khadgar head-on, reigniting their fierce duel. Realizing he could not simultaneously break the seal and defeat Khadgar, Gul'dan pleaded desperately with Kil'jaeden for aid. Khadgar, seizing the moment, revealed the grim fate of the original Gul'dan, torn apart by the demons he once served. This revelation struck Gul'dan with terror, understanding he too might become expendable. In a moment of grim resolve, Kil'jaeden acquiesced, allowing the overwhelming energy of the tomb to surge violently into the warlock, dramatically escalating the stakes of their conflict. Immediately halting his assault on Khadgar, Gul'dan used his newfound power to crush the final seal in a fist of blazing fellfire. The unleashed energy surged toward a hidden portal beneath Thal Dranoth. Yet Gul'dan seized this immense force for himself. Nearly overcome by the overwhelming torrent of arcane and fell energies, he regained his control with immense effort, triggering a catastrophic eruption in the chamber with a mere gesture. Khadgar swiftly encased himself in protective ice, but Gul'dan violently hurled the frozen mage through an open doorway before collapsing tons of stone and rubble atop it, sealing Khadgar away and leaving him buried beneath the wreckage. With immense effort, Khadgar freed himself from the ice and was soon joined by Maev's Shadowsong. United once more by common purpose, they broke through the collapsed chamber and confronted Gul'dan together. Their relentless attacks were repeatedly deflected with ease by the empowered warlock, yet they persisted tirelessly. Recognizing his desperate situation, Gul'dan chose to release the stolen energy, channeling it toward the portal below. The surge of power immediately opened the gateway, initiating the Burning Legion's third invasion of Azeroth. As Khadgar and Maiev collapsed, Kil'jaeden commended Gul'dan, who now possessed something previously unattainable: the Legion's trust. As demonic legions poured through the newly opened portal, Khadgar and Maiev fled for their lives. Maiev raced north to fortify the Vault of the Wardens, while Khadgar transformed into a raven, soaring eastward. Glancing back, the Archmage saw Gul'dan levitating amidst the fiery chaos, laughing wickedly while directing demons to hunt down the fleeing mage. Though Khadgar had been unable to prevent Gul'dan from opening the Tomb of Sargeras, thereby allowing the Burning Legion to once again invade Azeroth, his resolve remained unshaken. Determined to find a way to reseal the portal and halt the Legion's advance, Khadgar recognized the necessity of rallying Azeroth's greatest champions, despite opposition and skepticism from various quarters about forming such a risky coalition. After narrowly escaping the chaos unleashed within the tomb, Khadgar swiftly transformed into a raven and soared directly toward Stormwind Keep. There, he urgently informed King Varian Wrynn and Prince Anduin of the catastrophic invasion unfolding at the Broken Isles. His grave news quickly compelled the king to summon the leaders of the Alliance. Khadgar spoke persuasively, emphasizing the importance of unity and cooperation, ultimately convincing them to consider an alliance with their traditional rivals, the Horde. Driven by his unwavering determination, Khadgar then traveled to Orgrimmar, stepping boldly into Grommash Hold to deliver the dire news directly to War Chief Vol'jin and the gathered Horde leaders. With sincere urgency, he extended an invitation for them to join the Alliance at a war council convened in Dalaran. When the leaders from both factions gathered in the floating city, Khadgar stood before them, detailing every aspect of the Legion's arrival and underscoring the dire need for cooperation if Azeroth was to survive the looming apocalypse. Sometime after the Legion's devastating return to Azeroth, Khadgar flew swiftly to the mysterious Tower of Karazhan atop his loyal griffin, seeking ancient secrets hidden within its vast libraries to aid in the fight against the invading demons. As he combed through the arcane texts, the spectral image of his former mentor Medivh suddenly appeared before him, questioning his purpose. Khadgar stated plainly that he sought knowledge, but Medivh cryptically replied that what he truly needed was not merely knowledge, but a weapon, a guardian to stand against the Legion. Khadgar, his voice filled with anger and apprehension, rejected the notion, recalling bitterly how it had been decided after Medivh's tragic fall that no one could safely wield such power without succumbing to corruption. If not a guardian, If not you, Medivh challenged, then who can withstand the storm that approaches? The former Guardian then revealed a chilling vision of Dalaran burning and crashing from the skies, warning Khadgar that without a Guardian, all his sacrifices and victories would ultimately come to nothing. Khadgar protested, pointing out the impossibility of becoming a Guardian since no living soul remained to bestow such power upon him. To this, Medivh simply answered,
I remain.
He explained that before his death he had infused a tome with his essence, and if Khadgar opened it, the energies would flow into him, making him Azeroth's new Guardian. Even as Khadgar hesitated, tempted by Medivh's enticing vision of him wielding Atiesh to obliterate endless waves of demons, he finally admitted aloud the truth he had long hidden within himself.
Oh, it is true. I have thought about becoming the Guardian every day. Even now, I desire it.
Yet, precisely because of that longing, he knew he must reject the offer to avoid repeating Medivh's catastrophic mistakes. In that instant, Medivh's illusion shattered, revealing a monstrous Nathrazim demon that had been masquerading as the Guardian's echo. Its twisted visage mocked Khadgar, claiming his strength would have made him a formidable servant of the Legion. Defiantly, Khadgar declared he would never become their pawn, and that Karazhan would never fall into their corrupt hands. Summoning his strength through Atiesh, Khadgar unleashed a powerful arcane blast, utterly annihilating the demon and tearing apart the walls of Karazhan. Departing the tower atop his griffin once more, Khadgar came to a profound realization. No single individual, not even the Guardian, could withstand the Legion alone. The true strength needed was unity. The peoples of Azeroth would need to rise, united, if they hoped to protect their world from the Legion's wrath. After Dalaran temporarily repositioned itself above the mysterious Tower of Karazhan, Khadgar approached the Council of Six with a critical proposal, allowing the Horde back into the ranks of the Kirin Tor. Recognizing the urgency of the threat posed by the Legion, he argued that their combined strength, including Horde mages, was essential to successfully repelling the invasion. However, Jaina Proud more vehemently opposed this decision, still deeply wounded by the Horde's involvement in the destruction of Theramore, and what she perceived as their betrayal at the Battle for the Broken Shore. When the council voted, Khadgar's motion narrowly succeeded by 4 votes to 2. Enraged and disillusioned, Jaina abruptly teleported away, leaving Dalaran and the fate of the Kirin Tor in Khadgar's hands. As the council debated their next strategic move, the renowned explorer Bran Bronzebeard arrived unexpectedly with urgent news. Magni had awakened from his ice crystal prison and journeyed to the ancient Titan city of Ulduar. Recognizing the significance of this event, Khadgar and a skilled adventurer quickly traveled to Ulduar, overcoming fierce resistance from lingering forces loyal to Yogg-Saron, as well as Legion invaders. There, they learned the astonishing truth from Magni. He communicated directly with Azeroth herself, revealing that their world was, in fact, a slumbering Titan. Magni emphasized that their only hope against the Legion lay in acquiring powerful artifacts known as the Pillars of Creation. Khadgar immediately recognized the term, recalling seeing it mentioned in one of Medivh's ancient tomes housed within Karazhan. He and the adventurer swiftly teleported to the tower to retrieve the book, only to discover that the tower's defensive enchantments, previously installed by Khadgar himself, had been activated. After battling both the Legion's minions and Karazhan's defenses, they successfully secured the book and returned it to Dalaran. There, Khadgar summoned the spirit of Elodie, the legendary first Guardian and author of the tome, who revealed the pillars' locations as the Broken Isles. With the Legion pressing their attack and Dalaran threatened by arcane anomalies, Khadgar and the Kirin Tor mages quickly stabilized the city before teleporting it directly to the Broken Isles. Seeking additional allies, Khadgar journeyed to the Vault of the Wardens to recruit the recently freed Illidari into the battle against the Legion. Acknowledging their crucial role, he personally teleported the Illidari forces to Stormwind City and Orgrimmar, hoping to further unite Azeroth's defenders. A high mountain Tauren named Warbrave Oro arrived to await the champions of Azeroth. Khadgar greeted Oro warmly, recognizing that the people of High Mountain could prove invaluable allies in the daunting battle ahead. Good news reached Khadgar from Val'Sharah, a rare occurrence amid ongoing troubles. Malfurion Stormreach had successfully returned to his druidic homeland, restoring order and taking protective steps against the Legion. Khadgar then journeyed with the class champion to Azuna, driven by the belief that he had discovered vital information regarding an ancient relic key to defeating the Legion. Unexpectedly, the Naga under Queen Ajara's command were also pursuing this artifact, surprising Khadgar with their involvement. Initially, their mission required dealing with the Illidari presence. After rescuing a blue dragon named Stelagosa, they were guided to her grandfather, Senegos, the eldest of the Blue Dragonflight, who was gravely weakened. Khadgar stabilized Senegos with his magic, and after collecting crackling layworm cores to restore his strength, they learned that the sought-after relic, the Tidestone of Golganeth, had been shattered long ago. Senegos provided the location of its fragments, aiding their mission. Khadgar also valiantly defended Azurewing Repose from an attack by the Nightfallen and their withered servants. Back in Dalaran, Khadgar urgently summoned the class champion to the Violet Citadel. Alongside the Council of Six, they witnessed a troubling message from First Arcanist Delistra, a Nightborn, who revealed a dire pact threatening her people. Recognizing the severity, Khadgar opened a portal to Suramar, warning the champion to exercise caution, as the land had been wild and untamed for 10,000 years. Later, an urgent distress signal was spotted above the True Shot Lodge, drawing the attention of Amaral Shade Warden and the Hunt Master of the Unseen Path. Upon investigation, they discovered it was Khadgar who had sent the signal, urgently seeking assistance as several of his most trusted archmages had gone missing or were found slain. Following his lead, they uncovered fell stalkers devouring magical energy from the fallen mages. Before Khadgar and the Hunt Master could neutralize the beasts, their master, Hakar the Hound Master, appeared to protect his fell creatures, vowing that Khadgar would soon become their prey. Uniting with elite rangers, Haldoran Brightwing, Chandris Feathermoon, and Varisa Windrunner, they devised a trap inside Violet Hold. Khadgar acted as bait, channeling his arcane essence to draw Hakar out, leading to the Hound Master's defeat at the hands of the Hunt Master. In the days that followed, Khadgar learned from the Order of the Silver Hand that an extraordinarily radiant object had emerged from the Fellstorm and was falling towards Suramar's coast, remarkably slicing through the Fellstorm itself. Intrigued, Khadgar dispatched the champion to investigate. They discovered the object in possession of a sea giant named Yorg Murkmouth, hidden within an underwater cave. Upon retrieving and examining the mysterious artifact, Khadgar activated it, revealing a message from his long-lost friend Turalian. Turalian urgently instructed them to deliver the object, known as the Light's Heart, to Prophet Velen for further guidance. Understanding its critical importance, Khadgar entrusted the champion to protect it within their order hall, confident it was the safest location possible. He then began searching diligently for a means to unlock the artifact's hidden secrets. Khadgar returned once more to Karazhan after discovering that the Legion had invaded the tower, swiftly rallying the Kirin Tor and a courageous band of heroes to reclaim the historic structure. While exploring its depths, Khadgar discovered that Medivh, under the influence of the Dark Titan Sargeras, had previously bound Karazhan to various Legion core worlds. Determined to sever these sinister connections, Khadgar tirelessly worked to undo the bindings, aided by heroes battling fiercely against the Legion's presence throughout the tower. Despite Khadgar's best effort, the final and strongest bindings proved impossible for him to unravel. Just as hope seemed lost, Medivh himself astonishingly reappeared before the group. Stunned yet filled with questions, Khadgar tried to press his mentor about his mysterious disappearance, but the immediate threat of the Legion demanded their full attention. Together, Khadgar and the heroes of Azeroth faced the Legion in the Nether Space, ultimately emerging victorious. In the aftermath, Khadgar earnestly requested Medivh's continued assistance in the ongoing struggle against the Legion. However, Medivh declined, cryptically stating that his path lay elsewhere and declaring instead that Azeroth had already found its guardian in Khadgar. Though Khadgar initially resisted the title, Medivh reassured him that true guardianship did not require the formal powers of the Tear Fallen. Instead, Medivh praised Khadgar's innate courage, steadfast, and deep compassion, qualities far superior to his own as a guardian. Medivh shared wisdom with Khadgar, reminding him that though it might seem simpler to close the doors rather than face the unknown, true progress often demanded bold steps into uncertainty to reshape destiny itself. With these profound words, Medivh transformed into a raven and soared off into the mysterious expanse of the Nether. With Karazhan finally secure, Khadgar returned thoughtfully to Dalaran alongside Azeroth's heroes, pondering deeply about Medivh's unexpected reappearance and his cryptic departure, questioning where his mentor's journey would lead him next. Khadgar and the Kirin Tor journeyed to Suramar to support the Nightfallen Rebellion in their fight against the oppressive rule of Grand Magistrix Elisanda. Recognizing the necessity for their unity, Khadgar skillfully served as a mediator between the Night Elves, Blood Elves, and High Elves, bridging historical divides and fostering essential alliances. During this period, he developed a close friendship with Oculith, collaborating closely to strategically teleport hostile Nightborn forces away, effectively minimizing conflict and loss. When Elisanda utilized the immense power of the Nightwell to freeze time itself, locking the united Elven forces in temporal stasis, Khadgar swiftly partnered with a brave adventurer to free key leaders, Lady Liadrin and Tyrande Whisperwind. Despite their efforts, the complexity and danger of the temporal spell prevented them from rescuing the remaining troops at that time. Following the defeat of Andaris Narasan, Elisanda's first Arcanist of the Duskwatch, Oculus successfully teleported both Thalyssra and Khadgar to the champion's location, solidifying their tactical advantage. Arriving at the gates of the formidable Nighthold, Khadgar was convinced that breaking Elisanda's powerful time lock spell would pave the way to finally defeat Gul'dan. Acknowledging the critical nature of this moment, he cautioned that the Withered would not endure the dangers inside, urging the adventurer to assemble an elite strike force. Confidently, Khadgar assured them that he would support their advance every step of the way. Within the Nighthold, the champions swiftly overcame the chromatic anomaly, lifting the oppressive time lock and allowing Khadgar to update the freed warriors, who were momentarily disoriented but eager to rejoin the fight. After the fierce battle with Spellblade Alluriel, the gates finally fell, enabling the heroes to delve deeper into the heart of the city. Khadgar humorously reflected on the meticulous dedication of the palace gardener, to which Thalyssra remarked he was simply passionate about his duties. As the champions overcame the formidable Croesus, sending the demon back into the twisting nether, Khadgar solemnly noted that though Tyrion Fordring had seemingly fallen to the Doomlord previously, he had indeed played an essential role in the broader conflict. Moving forward, Khadgar briefed the champions on Tichondrius, adding with a sense of grim satisfaction that the spirit of Illidan would be rejoicing as the Dreadlord faced yet another painful demise. Light's heart, bearing Illidan's Stormrage's soul, was brought to Khadgar with explicit instructions. When Gul'dan attempted to summon Sargeras, Khadgar was to activate the vessel, releasing Illidan's soul back into his body, preventing Sargeras from occupying his empty shell. At the climactic confrontation within the Nighthold, Khadgar carried out his task, only to discover in horror that Sargeras had already infused Illidan's form, inadvertently awakening him.
You have seen what I have seen. You know what we face. Now, mortals, follow me into the abyss.
Khadgar convened with Prophet Velen and champions representing each of the Order Halls at Krasus' Landing to strategize about sealing the portal at the Tomb of Sargeras using the Pillars of Creation. Despite the urgent plans, Velen gravely reminded everyone that Gul'dan had merely been a puppet, and that Kil'jaeden, a far greater threat, still remained. Unbeknownst to them, Kil'jaeden watched their discussions from his ship orbiting above Argus, swiftly commanding Legion ships to launch an immediate assault on Dalaran. Determined, Khadgar led the charge in the assault on Broken Shore, delving into the ancient writings of Egwene. He uncovered vital information. The Aegis of Agrimar had the power to trigger a failsafe mechanism within the Tomb of Sargeras if positioned inside the Cathedral of Eternal Night. While Illidan and Maiev Shadowsong ascended the cathedral to fulfill this critical task, Khadgar and Velen ventured deeper into the tomb's perilous depths. Yet as the assault progressed, an apparition of Khadgar materialized before Illidan, Maiev, and their companions, delivering grim news that their attempts to breach the tomb's lower chambers had faltered. Undeterred, Illidan and Maiev pressed forward, rallying their forces to defeat the Dreadlord Mephistroth. Following their victory, the spectral form of Egwene appeared, delivering essential guidance and support. She revealed that the only way to permanently seal the Legion's portal would be to employ the Pillars of Creation deep within the tomb itself. Recognizing the significance of this revelation, Maiev promptly stated that Khadgar must be informed without delay, ensuring that Egwin's crucial insight reached the Archmage swiftly. After defeating Goroth, Khadgar and the champions of Legionfall regrouped at the Chamber of the Moon, where they encountered the Echo of Egwin once again. She informed them of the Legion's intention to reanimate Sargeras' fallen avatar, and provided Khadgar with instructions to remove her protective wards using the Pillars of Creation. Khadgar and the champions fought through Legion forces, successfully removing the wards and securing the pillars in place. Khadgar reported their triumph back to Egwin, confidently pledging they would thwart Kil'jaeden's plans. Despite warnings from Illidan and Egwin about the overwhelming dangers ahead, Khadgar remained resolute in his belief that unity could save Azeroth. While adventurers confronted the fallen avatar, Khadgar, Illidan, and Velen pursued Kil'jaeden himself. As Kil'jaeden fled aboard his Legion command ship, Khadgar attempted to close the portal behind him. Velen, driven by determination, rushed through to pursue Kil'jaeden despite Khadgar's protests. Illidan encouraged Khadgar to follow, asserting that ending the Legion's invasion required taking the fight directly to Kil'jaeden. After a fierce battle ending in Kil'jaeden's demise, the ship began crashing toward Argus. Illidan utilized the Sargerite keystone to create a rift back to Azeroth, allowing Khadgar to teleport everyone safely to Azuna. Upon their return, Khadgar was horrified to realize Illidan had intentionally left the rift open, making Argus visible in Azeroth's sky. Confronted by Khadgar's shocked questioning, Illidan coldly remarked that sometimes fate must be forced. Khadgar journeyed to Argus aboard the Vindicar, an advanced dimensional vessel expertly constructed by the Draenei. Within the Vindicar's matrix core chamber, Khadgar frequently consulted with Aethys Sunreaver, both sharing their sense of awe and trepidation at the immense forces they now faced. Upon the Vindicar's landing at Darkfall Ridge, Khadgar took to the battlefield himself, valiantly defending the ship from relentless waves of demon assailants. During a heartfelt reunion with Turallion and Ilaria Windrunner, Khadgar brought joyous news that their fellow comrades Danath Trollbane and Kurgan Wildhammer were still alive and well, although circumstances had prevented frequent meetings. Looking forward with optimism, the trio agreed that once their battle is ended, the Sons of Lothar would gather for a celebratory reunion. Playfully, Illyria insisted it would be Khadgar's responsibility to buy the first round of drinks. Following the monumental imprisonment of Sargeras by the Pantheon at their very seat, Khadgar reflected upon the arduous and relentless campaign against the Legion. Having journeyed across countless worlds and braved the perilous reaches of the Twisting Nether, he felt profoundly wary. Yet Khadgar realized he could afford no rest. Magni Bronzebeard's haunting visions of impending doom weighed heavily upon him. With the realization that a single Titan still remained vulnerable, Khadgar prepared himself once again, knowing the defense of Azeroth was far from over. In a final desperate act, Sargeras struck Azeroth with a colossal blade, piercing deep into Silithus and grievously wounding the world's soul. From this injury emerged Azerite, a potent magical essence infused with Azeroth's very lifeblood, swiftly becoming the catalyst for renewed tensions between the Alliance and Horde. As conflict once again threatened to engulf Azeroth, Khadgar felt deeply troubled. He had envisioned that the Legion's defeat would mark a new era of unity, healing, and cooperation between the peoples of Azeroth. Unwilling to watch his past allies turned against one another, and weary of conflict after their long, grueling struggle against the Legion, Khadgar retreated to Karazhan in search of Medivh's wisdom. He hoped that within the ancient texts preserved by his mentor lay the answers to healing the planet and averting further catastrophe. Together with Magni Bronzebeard, Khadgar formulated a daring plan to utilize the immense power contained within Azeroth's artifact weapons. Their goal was to drain the malevolent energies from the Sword of Sargeras, ultimately saving Azeroth from imminent destruction and providing hope for a future free from war. After returning to the quiet halls of Karazhan, Khadgar found himself visited by agents of SI-7, who had come to check on the Archmage amid rising tensions. Khadgar revealed his deep disappointment at the renewed conflict between the Alliance and Horde, firmly refusing to partake in the hostilities. Instead, he chose to dedicate himself to fully healing the wounds of Azeroth, believing that the world's restoration was far more important than any factional disputes. Once the war finally subsided and news of the ceasefire reached him, Khadgar felt a cautious optimism, hoping that both factions would finally recognize their true strength in unity rather than division. Reflecting on the artifacts secured within Karazhan, Khadgar wrote a detailed letter to Matthias Shaw of SI-7, updating him on the state of the relics and mentioning his ongoing efforts to stabilize and repair the unpredictable Curator. Alongside the letter, Khadgar sent Shaw a precious item, Garona's signet ring, requesting it to be returned to its rightful owner. In his correspondence, Khadgar also mentioned a visit from Revel Kost, who had come to return the Cloak of Purity. The Archmage humorously remarked to Shaw that Kost was without a doubt the most irritable priest he had ever encountered, making clear that even in troubled times, he had not lost his sense of humor or perspective. Weighed down by the immense responsibilities he had shouldered and the difficult choices he had made throughout his life, Khadgar felt a growing desire to find clarity and peace. Drawn by curiosity and the quiet pull of reflection, he made the extraordinary decision to journey to the Shadowlands before the end of his days. Upon his arrival in the great eternal city of Oribos, Khadgar reunited with Jaina Proudmoore. Their conversation lifted his spirits, his words reminding him of the strength found in companionship and the light that still lingered in the world despite all they had lost. Reinvigorated, Khadgar turned his attention to the mysterious realms that lay before him. Intrigued by whispers of scheming brokers, a city brimming with secrets, and the promise of ancient wisdom hidden within the very fabric of death itself, the Archmage set out to explore the Shadowlands. His travels took him across the many domains of the afterlife, including the serene and dreamlike Ardenweald. There he marveled at the graceful veil wings that danced through the air, finding in their beauty a quiet reminder that even in death, there was still wonder to behold. Years after the tumultuous events of the Legion's defeat, Khadgar found himself once again visited by the Call of Destiny. While residing in the quiet yet arcane-filled halls of Karazhan, he received an unexpected visit from Kalagos. The Blue Dragon brought grave news. Ancient enemies of the dragon aspects, the primal incarnates, had begun to stir. These primordial beings, fueled by hatred of the Titan's legacy, sought to rid Azeroth of what they called the Titan's quote-unquote stain. Recognizing the enormity of the threat, Khadgar did not hesitate. With a renewed sense of duty, he set out to rally the mortal races, journeying to Stormwind and Orgrimmar to warn their leaders and prepare them for the storm on the horizon. Not long after, Khadgar and the Kirin Tor traveled to the frigid expanse of the Azure Span on the Dragon Isles, where they joined Kalagos and the Blue Dragonflight in a mission to recover the sacred Azure Oathstone. Establishing a base at Camp Antonidas, their presence quickly drew the ire of the Primalists, who unleashed a wave of proto-dragons in a fierce assault. With the timely aid of adventurers, they held their ground until Kalagos arrived to repel the invaders. With the immediate threat pushed back, Khadgar turned his focus eastward. Sensing further danger, he dispatched adventurers to assist Kalagos in reclaiming the Oathstone and securing the surrounding region. Their efforts culminated in the capture of the Azure Archives, and as Kalagos summoned the remnants of the Blue Dragonflight, Khadgar returned with urgent news. The Primalists were advancing, and Raszagath herself was leading a direct assault on Vakthros, which is a nexus of leyline energy vital to the stability of the Azure Span. Its fall would obliterate not only the Azure Archives, but the entire region. Understanding the stakes, Khadgar and Kalagos took to the skies to confront the onslaught from above, while entrusting brave adventurers with holding Ronin's shield below. The battle for Azeroth's future had begun once again, and Khadgar was ready to meet it. As the aerial battle raged, both Khadgar and Kalagos unleashed mirror images of themselves to aid the champions on the ground, a dazzling spectacle that even the seasoned adventurer, Drock Scrollstabber, called unforgettable. While the skies flared with arcane and elemental fury, the Archmage and Blue Dragon coordinated closely with their allies below, directing their forces to weaken the Primalist grip and liberate captured Kirin Tor mages from enemy clutches. The turning point came with the death of Korthrox the Destroyer. Rallying beside the adventurers, Khadgar set a bold plan into motion. As Raszagath sought to tear the arcane energy from the very heart of Vakthros, Kalagos engaged her in direct combat. Meanwhile, Khadgar channeled powerful ley energy to stabilize the tower, and the champion mounted an arcane disc to repel waves of Primalist reinforcements. Though they ultimately succeeded in preventing Raszagath from annihilating the tower, their victory came at a cost. Wounded and cornered, the trio braced for the worst, until salvation came in the form of Senegos and his brood, who soared in from the Broken Isles. Faced with overwhelming numbers, Raszagath retreated, her fury thwarted for now. With the Azure Span secured, Khadgar joined the Blue Dragonflight in a moment of triumph, bearing witness as Kalagos reactivated a long-dormant Azure Oathstone, rekindling a symbol of unity, resilience, and hope for what lay ahead. But peace was short-lived. Raszagath stormed the Vault of the Incarnates, freeing her fellow primal incarnates from their imprisonment. In response, Alexstrasza dispatched Khadgar, Kalagos, and a group of adventurers into the vault to stop her before all was lost. Though Razagath fell in battle, the mission was bittersweet. The other incarnates were successfully freed. Forced to retreat, Khadgar and Kalecgos returned swiftly to Valdrakken to deliver the grim news. In the wake of their report, Nozdormu admitted his visions remained clouded, sensing only a dark future ahead. Alexstrasza reflected solemnly on Razagath's demise, noting that her recklessness had doomed her. But the remaining incarnates would not make the same mistake. Khadgar picked up on the particular anxiety surrounding Iridikron. It was then that the truth was laid bare. While Farak and Viranoth remained loyal to the Primalist cause, Iridikron had plunged far deeper, forging dark and dangerous pacts in his zealous devotion to war. Despite his rising uncertainty, Kalecgos rallied the group, reminding them that unity was their greatest strength. Together they resolved to stand as one against the Incarnates and safeguard Azeroth from destruction. Later, Khadgar and the Kirin allied with the Blue Dragonflight and the Iskara Tuskarn in the battle against Farak's forces at Suffusion Camp Frostburn. Establishing a protective barrier at Grimtusk's hideaway, Khadgar shielded his allies from Farak's stronger minions and observed that the lack of coordination between the Primalists and Jarden had been a stroke of fortune. Ever vigilant, Khadgar urged adventurers to continue lending aid wherever it was needed, knowing the battle for Azeroth was far from over. Soon after, Khadgar made his way to the Ancient Bow and stepped into the Emerald Dream. There, he stood alongside Alexstrasza and other defenders to protect the budding World Tree, Amirdrasil, from Farak the Blazing. On the front line near the Temple Wellspring, Khadgar fought beside allies such as Naladia Rivergleam, Toddy Whiskers, Pathfinder Jeb, and Pathfinder Taka, holding the line against the Primalist onslaught. Following Farak's defeat, Khadgar attended the celebration of Amirdrasil's bloom in Belameth on the Dragon Isles. Though the occasion was joyous, his mind remained troubled by reports of a mysterious harbinger. He confided that an old friend had taken it upon themselves to investigate. In the wake of new threats, Khadgar accepted Kalecgos' resignation from the Council of Six, and tasked the dragon with seeking out knowledge from Malygos' remnants about the artifact Iridikron had taken from the Forbidden Reach. As a strange phenomenon known as the Radiant Song spread across Azeroth, Khadgar and the Council of Six found themselves baffled by its nature. Turning to Jaina Proudmoore for aid, he asked her to investigate, while simultaneously directing Ilaria and a group of adventurers to pursue the mystery of the Harbinger. Despite his faith in their abilities, Khadgar admitted he feared the coming days would be filled with darkness. When the champions returned, they brought alarming news. The Harbinger was none other than Xal'atath, and the Ethereals had once heard the Radiant Song before their world, Koresh, was destroyed. Jaina pondered whether the song could be the voice of Azeroth herself. In response, Khadgar insisted they needed answers, and fast. He urged that they consult with Magni Bronzebeard, and Jaina pledged to seek him out, knowing that the fate of the world may again rest in their hands. Driven to uncover the truth behind the Radiant Song, Magni conducted a daring ritual to commune with Azeroth directly, but before he could share what he learned, he collapsed without warning, leaving Thrall, Jaina, Anduin, and the gathered champions stunned and alarmed. Seeking answers, the group quickly journeyed to Dalaran. There, Khadgar admitted his confusion over Magni's sudden affliction, though he held on to hope that the speaker would recover. While echoes of the past began manifesting across the land, Khadgar dispatched champions to investigate, determined to uncover the connection between these apparitions and the spreading song. Following Magni's recovery, the Council of Six convened and made a bold decision to relocate the magical city of Dalaran to Khadgar, a region where they hoped to better understand and confront the growing threat. Khadgar oversaw preparations, instructing champions to ensure the safety and readiness of Dalaran citizens for the monumental shift. Upon arrival in Khadgar, their hopes were short-lived. Xal'atath cast aside her disguise and unleashed the twisted Nerubians of Ashkahet upon the city. Amid the chaos nestled within the Violet Citadel, Khadgar made a grim discovery. Xal'atath was siphoning Dalaran's magical essence into a malevolent artifact, the Dark Heart. Khadgar attempted to stop her, but his efforts fell short. In the heat of the battle, Ilaria arrived, only to be overwhelmed by the Dark Heart's influence. Acting swiftly, Khadgar teleported her to safety on the Isle of Dorn, but in doing so he was captured, absorbed into the very artifact he sought to destroy, as Dalaran crumbled around them. Later, Ilaria confronted Xal'atath once more and struck a critical blow to the Dark Heart. From the shattered artifact, a raven burst forth, Khadgar, released from his arcane prison. He fell to the earth weak and battered. Ilaria cradled him in her arms, mourning what she thought was his final breath. But all was not lost. Anduin had to try one more time to call upon the light that had been eluding him for some time now. After each previous failed attempt to call forth the light to help in a battle, he had to try again to save his old friend, and sensing the shift of energy in Beladar back toward the light, called upon his divine power to heal Khadgar. Light poured into the fallen Archmage, mending his broken form and pulling him back from the brink. In the aftermath of the cataclysm, Khadgar could be found recovering in the Foundation Hall of Dornegal, seated beside Ilaria. He revealed that he had transmuted himself into pure arcane essence to infiltrate the Dark Heart, trusting that Ilaria would be the one to free him. Though the plan had worked, it had not come without cost. The strain of the spell left him physically diminished, now bound to a floating arcane wheelchair crafted by the skilled hands of Archmage Modera. Even so, Khadgar's spirit remained unbroken, his mind sharp and ready for whatever new threats Azeroth might face. Khadgar and the Sons of Lothar at last held their long-awaited reunion during the Feast of Wintervale, gathering in their secret haven far from the reach of Xal'atath's shadow. Laughter and warmth filled the air as old comrades reminisced over battles won and friendships forged. Among the guests was Eitrig, who had recently joined Daneth Trollbane in an effort to ease the unrest brewing in the Arathi Highlands. Yet even in the midst of celebration, a somber weight rested on Khadgar's shoulders. He could not help but mourn the fall of Dalaran and the disillusion of the Kirin Tor, symbols of unity and magical brilliance now reduced to memory. Still, he took solace in the company of his oldest allies. He reminded them all that they had faced overwhelming odds before and endured. As long as they continued to fight, he declared, they were still alive, and for that he was profoundly grateful to spend this moment among friends. In time, the question of Kirin Tor's legacy demanded attention. When Aethys Sunreaver requested Khadgar's help in purging the residual arcane energy left in the ruins of Dalaran, the Archmage, wary from recent trials, entrusted the task to a capable adventurer. Later, Khadgar did arrive to lead a solemn ritual honoring those lost in the city's fall. Standing amid the echoes of their former sanctuary, Khadgar and his fellow mages made a quiet but powerful vow to rebuild the Kirin Tor, not as a distant council of lofty ideals, but as a humble order grounded in wisdom and tempered by past mistakes. They agreed to cast aside pride, forego floating cities and grandiose gestures, and focus on instead serving the world with clarity and compassion. With the ritual complete and the promise of renewal made, Khadgar departed to rest in Dornegal, carrying with him both the weight of the past and the faint glimmer of a new beginning. And that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you did enjoy. Thanks for checking it out, and do take care of yourself. You're doing great.